Sometimes holding on hurts more than letting go. That line stings a little, doesn't it, my friends? Because deep down, you know what it means. You've felt it. That slow fade, that quiet space growing between you and someone you once thought would never drift away. You feel them slipping, little by little. And no matter how hard you try to hold tighter, they just seem to move further. Hey folks, imagine this, you're holding sand in your hand. At first it feels safe, solid, warm. You close your fist to protect it, but the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. That's what clinging to someone's fading energy feels like. You think control will save it, but control is what makes it disappear faster. The more you chase what's running away, the faster it runs. You see, we've all been there. That anxious space between what did I do wrong and how do I fix this? You start overanalyzing texts, reading silence like a secret code, trying to decode meaning from every pause. You tell yourself, maybe if I just show them I care more, they'll see my worth. But let me tell you the truth no one else will. That energy doesn't pull them closer, it pushes them away. Because people don't respond to your words, they respond to your energy. Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And that's exactly what this moment is about. When someone starts pulling away, the illusion whispers that if you just do more, you can make them stay. But what you're really trying to fix isn't them. It's the feeling of rejection that's waking up your deepest fears. It's the same story replaying, the childhood feeling of not being chosen, the fear of being forgotten, the urge to prove your worth. But here's the truth. Your worth was never meant to be proven, it was meant to be felt. You don't need to chase what's unsure of you. You don't need to explain your value to someone who's already stopped listening. Think of the ocean, my friends. When the tide pulls back, it's not disappearing, it's gathering power. It returns stronger, deeper, and calmer. You are the same. When you let someone go, it doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've made space to come back to yourself. That's the art of Stoic detachment. It's not cold, it's clear. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to stay still when every nerve in your body wants to reach out, to fix, to explain. But the strongest people aren't the ones who chase. They're the ones who can stay centered while everything around them moves. They can feel the storm and still choose silence. Because silence, my friends, isn't emptiness. It's self-respect with sound turned off. So here's what I want you to remember today. Letting go doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you care enough about yourself to stop begging for love that doesn't meet you halfway. It means you've learned that your peace is too expensive to be spent on uncertainty, and it means you're finally ready to stop chasing what's running and start walking toward what's meant for you. Because the truth is, when you let go of what's fading, you give life permission to bring you something that will stay. Say this with me and write it down in the comments below. I choose peace. Show the world, show yourself, because this time, my friends, you're not losing them, you're finding you. Number 1, the energy of chasing. The more you chase, the faster they run. That's not just a saying, my friends, it's a law of human energy. The moment you start chasing what's slipping away, you're no longer walking in confidence, you're running in fear. And fear, no matter how disguised, always repels what it tries to keep. You might not even realize it, but every time you overthink their silence, every time you send that one last text just to check in, every time you replay old conversations in your head, you're sending out a signal that says, I'm afraid of losing you. And people can feel that, even if you never say a word. Imagine standing in a field trying to catch a butterfly. You wave your hands, you follow it, you reach for it, and every time you do, it flies further away. But if you sit quietly, still and calm, eventually it comes to rest right on your shoulder. That's the truth about energy. When you chase, you disturb the peace. When you stand still, you become the peace. And peace attracts everything that's meant for you. But I get it, folks. I know why you chase. Because the silence feels unbearable, because distance feels like rejection, because your mind starts spinning stories like, maybe they found someone else, maybe I wasn't enough, maybe if I just show them I care, they'll remember. And that's the biggest lie. The belief that love can be convinced or earned through effort. Real connection doesn't require convincing. It flows, it breathes, it doesn't need to be dragged back into place. So why does your body react like that? Why do you feel panic rising the moment they pull away? It's because your nervous system remembers the feeling of abandonment. Somewhere deep inside, it's not just about them. It's about every moment you ever felt unseen, unheard, or unloved. That's why chasing feels like survival. It's your mind saying, don't lose this. If they go, I'll fall apart. But here's the truth, my friends. You won't fall apart. You're just not used to standing alone in your full power yet. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that's what Stoic detachment is about. It's not pretending you don't care. It's realizing that no matter what they do, pull away, go quiet, walk out, you're still enough, you're still safe, you're still whole. Detachment isn't coldness, it's warmth that no longer burns itself out trying to keep others warm. Think of energy like a magnet. When you're chasing, you're flipping your polarity. You're pushing instead of pulling. They feel it. They sense that desperation, that subtle tension in your messages, that emotional heaviness behind every, "Hey, just checking in," and it makes them step back. Not because you're unworthy, but because no one wants to feel responsible for another person's peace. When you make someone else your source of validation, they'll always feel pressure instead of love. But when you pull that energy back to yourself, everything changes. The same energy that once chased becomes confidence. The same emotion that once clung becomes self-respect. And ironically, that's what makes them notice you again. Because what's more magnetic than someone who doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable? Someone who already knows they are. Now I know, it's not easy to sit still when everything in you screams to reach out. Your heart says, if I don't do something, I'll lose them. But let me tell you a secret. If you have to chase it, it's already running. And if it's running, it was never really yours. You don't chase alignment, you align with it. Picture this. Two stars drifting apart in space. You can't pull the other star closer by screaming at it. You can't grab it by force. All you can do is shine where you are. Because when two stars are meant to orbit together, their gravity takes care of the rest. But when you dim your light trying to keep the other close, you lose both, your glow and your dignity. You've been taught that love means effort, that chasing means caring, that silence means loss. But that's the lie you must unlearn, because true love doesn't demand anxiety. It doesn't feed on fear. It doesn't punish you with absence to test your worth. And once you see that, the entire game changes. You stop begging for clarity and start creating your own. You stop waiting for their attention and start giving it to yourself. This is where it gets hard, my friends, because your mind will fight it. It'll whisper, but what if they never come back? What if letting go means losing them forever? And the answer is simple but powerful. If letting go loses them, then holding on was only delaying the truth. You don't lose what's real by being still. You only lose what was feeding on your fear. The challenge isn't letting them go. It's believing you'll be okay without them. And that's the moment your real power begins. The moment you look at yourself and say, I am enough, even here, even now. Because when you can sit in that silence and not break, you become untouchable. You rise above the need for validation. You become peace in human form. So the next time you feel that panic, the urge to text, the urge to fix, the urge to beg, breathe. Step back. Let the silence speak for you, because sometimes silence screams louder than words ever could, and in that quiet space, something powerful happens. They feel your absence. They start wondering what changed. The energy shifts, because now you're not chasing, you're choosing. Say this out loud and write it down in the comments. I no longer chase what runs. I stand still in my power. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you've remembered who you are. Because this is where the game turns, my friends. This is where the energy flips. Stay with me. Because next, we're diving even deeper into what happens after you stop chasing, when your silence starts to echo louder than their words. Number two, the illusion of control. The tighter you try to hold on, the faster life finds a way to make you let go. It's a funny thing, my friends. We think control will protect us. We believe if we just manage everything, predict every outcome, and anticipate every emotion, we can somehow stop pain from happening. But in reality, that's what causes most of the suffering. Because the need for control isn't power, it's fear disguised as logic. And fear is the one thing that can make even the strongest person forget their strength. Imagine standing on a beach, trying to command the tide not to move. You shout, you plead, you wave your arms, but the ocean doesn't care about your demands. It comes and goes as it always has. Trying to control people is the same. They'll come closer when they want to, they'll pull away when they need to, and the more you try to dictate their rhythm, the more resistance you create. It's like trying to hug the ocean. All you end up with is wet sand and exhaustion. But I know why they do it. Because uncertainty feels like danger, silence feels like rejection, and distance feels like proof that they're losing something they can't afford to lose. So they start controlling, through words, through constant checking, through subtle manipulation disguised as caring. They text first every time, double text when there's no reply, plan conversations in their head before they happen, and monitor every small shift in tone. They tell themselves they're just trying to make it work, but deep down, it's not about making it work. It's about avoiding the heartbreak they fear is coming. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's the truth of it. The moment they feel someone pulling away, their mind starts writing entire stories that don't exist yet. They must be losing interest. They must have found someone else. Maybe I did something wrong. But none of that's real. What's real is this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. And in this moment, nothing's happening except their fear of taking the wheel. The illusion of control is sneaky. It tricks them into believing they can earn security through effort. That if they say the right thing, or respond fast enough, or stay perfect, they can stop someone from leaving. But control never keeps love, it only suffocates it. Because love isn't a performance, it's presence. It's peaceful. It's enough even when things are uncertain. Think about it. Have you ever watched a bird sitting on a branch? It doesn't cling with panic, afraid the branch might break. It trusts its wings. That's detachment. It's not about trusting the branch, the person, the situation, the outcome. It's about trusting yourself to be okay, no matter what breaks. And once you understand that, the fear of losing control fades, because you realize you were never in control to begin with. Here's the paradox. The less you try to control, the more influence you actually gain. Because calmness is power. When you can stand in uncertainty without falling apart, people feel it. They feel safe around you. They feel drawn to your peace. You stop being the storm that pushes them away and start becoming the calm they want to return to. But letting go of control isn't easy. It's like taking your hands off the steering wheel while the car's still moving. It feels unnatural, unsafe, wrong. But here's what they need to know. The universe isn't asking them to crash. It's asking them to trust. To realize that not everything that's leaving is a loss, and not everything that's gone quiet is gone for good. Sometimes silence is just space being made for something better. They've been conditioned to believe that love must be managed, monitored, and constantly maintained. But real love doesn't need constant management. It thrives in freedom. It breathes in space. And if someone is meant for you, they won't need to be held hostage by your fear. They'll stay because peace feels better than pressure. So let's break the lie once and for all. Control doesn't keep people close. Connection does. And connection is born in authenticity, not anxiety. You can't force someone to see your worth, but you can stand so firmly in it that they can't ignore it. You can't make them stay, but you can make peace with whatever happens. And that peace will become your strength. The moment you stop trying to control the outcome, you start influencing it from a higher place. That's the paradox of detachment. When you no longer need it to work, that's when it usually does. Because love can't breathe in a cage. It needs space to expand, to grow, to find its natural balance again. So if you feel them slipping away, don't chase, don't analyze, don't force. Breathe. Trust your wings. Let the tide move as it must. What's meant to stay will always stay. Say this with me and type it in the comments below. I trust what's meant for me. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that peace isn't found in control. It's found in surrender. And stay with me, my friends, because what comes next will open your eyes to something even deeper. The moment when silence stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling like power. Number 3. When silence speaks louder. Silence isn't emptiness. It's where truth finally has room to speak. My friends, people fear silence more than anything. They think it means rejection, indifference, or the beginning of the end. But silence is sacred. It's not the absence of connection. It's the space where real clarity begins to form. The problem is, most people are so afraid of it that they fill every quiet moment with noise. They text just to feel something. They post just to be noticed. They talk just to escape the stillness. But the truth is, silence doesn't hurt. What hurts is what silence reveals. Imagine this. You're standing in a room full of mirrors. If the room is loud and full of movement, you can't really see your reflection clearly. But when everything goes quiet, you start to see yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time. That's what happens when someone pulls away. Their silence becomes a mirror. It reflects back your fears, your attachments, and your need for validation. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. It's not just about them ignoring you. It's about you being forced to face yourself. And I get it, folks. You sit there, phone in hand, watching those 3 dots appear and disappear, wondering, why aren't they replying? What did I do wrong? Did I say too much? Should I say something else? You replay the last conversation like a movie scene, trying to edit it in your mind. But here's the truth, that silence isn't punishment. It's protection. It's giving you space to realize that your peace doesn't depend on their reply. Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, be okay with not always having closure, not always being understood, not always getting the last word. Because the need to fill silence is the ego begging to be seen. But your higher self doesn't beg. It observes, it listens, it knows that silence holds more power than 1,000 desperate words. Think of the moon, my friends. It doesn't scream for attention, yet the entire ocean moves because of it. That's what your energy becomes when you stop reacting. When you stop chasing, when you stop forcing a response, you become magnetic in your stillness. People start to wonder what changed, why they can't feel your pull anymore, why your silence suddenly feels heavier than their words ever did. That's the shift. That's power. Now, silence doesn't mean ghosting or pretending. It's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your emotional space. It's choosing to respond with peace instead of panic. Because when you stay silent from strength, not spite, your energy says, I don't need to fight for what's already mine, and I don't need to beg for what's not. That's where self-respect begins, in restraint. But yes, it's hard. I won't lie to you. The first few days of silence can feel unbearable. You'll hear every clock tick louder. You'll check your phone even when you know there's nothing there. Your mind will whisper, just send one more message. Just say something small. What's the harm? But the harm is that every time you break your silence from fear, you teach your mind that peace isn't safe, that you can't survive without their response. And that, my friends, is how emotional dependency is born. When you learn to sit in the silence and not break, that's when your power multiplies. Because silence is not about ignoring them, it's about acknowledging you. It's about saying, I matter enough to not beg for attention. You become calm after the storm. The energy around you stabilizes. And that's when they start to feel your absence, not your anger, not your desperation, but your stillness. That's what pulls them back. That's what wakes them up. Seneca wrote, It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. How much time have you wasted explaining yourself to people who were never listening? How much energy have you poured into conversations that went nowhere? It's time to redirect that energy, not as punishment to them, but as nourishment to you. Because silence, when practiced with intention, becomes a language. It tells the world, I'm not angry, I'm at peace. I'm not giving up, I'm growing up. I'm not ignoring you, I'm honoring me. So here's what I want you to remember. Silence isn't the end of connection, it's the rebirth of power. It's where you stop reacting to their actions and start responding to your truth. It's where your worth no longer depends on what someone else chooses to say or do. Say this with me and type it in the comments below. My silence speaks my worth. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that peace doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply walks away without a sound. And stay with me, because next we're going even deeper into why this silence feels so hard. The hidden childhood pattern that keeps making them chase love that hurts. Number 4, breaking the childhood pattern. You don't chase love because you want to. You chase it because once upon a time you had to. My friends, this is where the story gets deep. Because when you feel someone pulling away and your first instinct is to chase, it's not really them you're chasing. It's a wound from your past that's begging to be healed. Most people think heartbreak starts with a breakup, but in truth, it often begins in childhood. It begins the first time you reached out for love and it wasn't returned. The first time you cried for attention and no one came. The first time you learned that silence meant danger, that distance meant rejection, that affection had to be earned. That's where the pattern started. Imagine a child standing in the rain, holding out their arms, waiting for someone to come back for them. That's the same energy that plays out in adulthood when you chase someone who's slipping away. It's that small, scared version of you saying, please don't leave me like they did. You're not weak for feeling that. You're human. You're remembering something your body never forgot, that feeling of being unwanted, unseen, unchosen. But now you're older, wiser, and it's time to tell that inner child the truth. You are not that abandoned kid anymore. Epictetus once said, no man is free who is not master of himself. And that includes mastering the patterns you didn't choose, because the truth is, many of the people you've loved weren't chosen by your heart. They were chosen by your wound. You were unconsciously drawn to people who made you feel the same emotional tension you grew up in. The inconsistency, the coldness, the emotional unavailability. It felt familiar, didn't it? It felt like home, even if it hurt. Because your nervous system was trained to confuse uncertainty with excitement, inconsistency with love, chaos with connection. That's why silence feels unbearable. That's why distance feels like danger, because your body remembers, even if your mind doesn't. You're not reacting to this person. You're reacting to history repeating itself. And as painful as that realization is, it's also your freedom. Because once you see the pattern, you can stop it. You can choose differently. You can finally give yourself the love you've been begging others to give you. Think about this. If someone keeps running from you, it's not your job to chase them. It's your job to ask, why am I drawn to people who make me run after them in the first place? What am I trying to prove? To whom? Because sometimes the person you're trying to prove your worth to isn't even in the room anymore. It's the ghost of someone who made you believe you had to earn it. And here's the truth most never face. The people who hurt you back then weren't capable of loving you the way you needed, not because you were unworthy, but because they were broken too. Maybe your parents were emotionally distant. Maybe they didn't know how to love in a way that felt safe. But their inability was never your fault. You were never unlovable. You were just unseen by people who didn't know how to see themselves. When you finally realize that, something shifts. You stop blaming yourself for other people's silence. You stop mistaking rejection for reflection. You start to see that every time you chase, you're abandoning yourself the way they once abandoned you. And that, my friends, is where true healing begins. Because healing isn't about getting them to love you back. It's about finally loving the parts of you that they ignored. Think of it like this. You've been carrying around a broken compass, one that always points toward people who can't love you properly. But now you have the chance to recalibrate it, to let it point toward peace instead of pain. That's what breaking the pattern means. It's not about blaming your past. It's about freeing yourself from repeating it. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it hurts to see how deep this goes. But every time you resist the urge to chase, every time you choose silence instead of begging, every time you remind yourself that you are enough even without their response, you're reprogramming your heart. You're showing that child inside you that safety doesn't come from being chosen. Safety comes from choosing yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't control who stays or leaves, but you can control the story you tell yourself when they do. You can stop saying, 'They left because I wasn't enough,' and start saying, 'They left because my peace demanded space.' So, my friends, this is your turning point. This is where the chasing ends and healing begins. Because once you recognize that every desperate text, every sleepless night, every anxious thought was really a cry from your younger self asking to be loved, you'll realize something powerful. You've been the one you were waiting for all along. Say this with me and type it in the comments. I am no longer chasing love that reminds me of my pain. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're done reliving the same story. Because this time, the story ends with you choosing peace over the past. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to talk about something even more powerful. How to take all that energy you once gave away and bring it back home where it belongs. Number 5, reclaiming your energy. Where your attention goes, your power flows. My friends, this is where the real transformation begins. Because every time you overthink them, every time you check your phone hoping for a message, every time you replay what went wrong, you're not just thinking about them, you're feeding them your energy. You're pouring your power into a cup that doesn't even belong to you anymore. And that's why you feel so drained, so anxious, so unlike yourself. It's not because they took something from you. It's because you kept giving it away. Think of your energy like water in a vase. The more you focus on them, the more cracks you create in that vase. Every thought of, Why did they pull away? Every night spent scrolling through old messages, every day wondering what they're doing or who they're with. Each one is a tiny crack, and through those cracks your peace leaks out, drop by drop. By the end you're left empty, wondering why everything feels so heavy. But here's the truth. Your peace isn't gone. It's just misplaced. It's waiting for you to come back and claim it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's what reclaiming your energy really means. It's not about pretending they don't matter. It's about realizing that you matter more. You've been spinning around their orbit for so long that you forgot. You are the center of your own universe. The sun doesn't chase the planets, my friends. It shines where it is, and everything that's meant to revolve around it finds its way back naturally. But I know, easier said than done, right? When you've given someone so much of your heart, it feels impossible to just turn off the switch. You wake up thinking about them, go to bed hoping for closure, and somewhere in between, you forget to live your own life. You tell yourself, "I just want peace," but the truth is, peace doesn't come from thinking about them. It comes from thinking about you. You start reclaiming your energy by asking one simple question. What can I give myself today that I've been expecting from them? If you wanted reassurance, give yourself encouragement. If you wanted attention, give yourself focus. If you wanted love, give yourself patience. Because the love you give yourself isn't just self-care, it's self-respect. And the moment you start doing that, your energy shifts from leaking to glowing. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse. You've been turning your beam in every direction, trying to find someone lost at sea. But now, you turn that light inward, back to shore. Suddenly, the fog starts to lift. You see your own path again. That's what happens when you stop chasing. Your vision clears. You start noticing the beauty that was always around you, but blurred by obsession. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start feeling alive again. Here's something powerful. When you reclaim your energy, people feel it. They might not understand it, but they sense it. The same person who ignored your messages will suddenly wonder why your silence feels different now. The same person who used to take your presence for granted will start to miss your absence. Because energy doesn't lie. When you stop giving it away, people notice, even if they don't know why. But this part isn't about revenge or getting a reaction. It's about realignment, because the goal isn't to make them come back. It's to bring you back. Every time you resist the urge to check their profile, you build self-trust. Every time you choose silence over seeking validation, you strengthen your peace. Every time you focus on your goals, your fitness, your friendships, your growth, you're telling the universe, "I'm ready to receive, not chase." And the universe listens. It always does. The moment you stop feeding your pain, you start feeding your power. Life begins to reflect that shift. Opportunities open up. Your energy draws new people, new experiences, new beginnings, all because you stopped watering a dead plant and started nurturing your own roots. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free," and that's exactly what you become when you take your energy back. Free. Free from the stories in your head, free from emotional dependency, free from waiting for closure that may never come. You stop needing them to complete you because you finally remember you were whole before they arrived. So, my friends, from this day forward, protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Stop handing out pieces of yourself to people who haven't earned them. Your love, your attention, your peace. These are not things to be chased after or thrown away. They are gifts, and not everyone deserves access to them. Say this with me and type it boldly in the comments below. I am bringing my energy back home. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that you are done leaking power into people who only take it. because when you bring your energy back to you, you stop revolving around anyone and start becoming the center of your own light. And stay with me, because next we're going to unlock something even more magnetic, the silent power that draws everything you desire back towards you, without you saying a single word. Number 6, the magnetic power of letting go. Nothing attracts more than someone who's unbothered. My friends, you've probably heard that line before, maybe even rolled your eyes at it. But when you live it, you understand its truth. The moment you stop chasing what's running, the energy shifts completely, because letting go isn't losing, it's alignment. It's you saying to the universe, I trust what's mine enough not to grip it in fear. That's not weakness, that's magnetic power. Imagine holding a balloon in your hand. The tighter you grip it, the more likely it is to pop. But if you just let it float, it finds its own balance in the air. That's how attraction works. People think magnetism comes from effort, from texting more, from proving worth, from making noise. But true magnetism, the kind that draws people and opportunities without trying, comes from stillness. It comes from being so comfortable in your own energy that you don't need to reach for anything. You simply be, and the right things orbit naturally around you. But here's the truth that stings a bit. Most people can't let go because they don't trust that something better will come. They think letting go means losing control. They think surrender means giving up. They think silence means weakness. But detachment, my friends, isn't indifference. It's strength in disguise. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty and saying, I'm good either way. That's what draws everything back. Not begging, not explaining, not chasing, just calm certainty. Think about it like this. A storm makes noise, lightning flashes, thunder shouts. But what follows every storm? The calm. And what's more powerful? The storm that passes or the calm that remains. When you become that calm, when you stop letting emotions control your every move, that's when your energy becomes untouchable. People start wondering what changed. Why aren't they reacting anymore? Why do they seem so peaceful now? Why does their silence feel so heavy? Because you've stepped into your power, and your energy announces it before you do. Seneca once said, "He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at." That's what Stoic detachment really is. It's learning to laugh at what used to shake you. To see their distance and think, if they walk, let them walk. To feel silence and think, if it's peace, I'll take it. You stop fighting for what's unstable and start anchoring yourself in what's eternal, your own self-worth. That's what makes you magnetic, because nothing glows brighter than someone who has stopped needing validation to shine. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care differently. You stop trying to own love, and you start honoring it. You stop trying to control outcomes, and you start trusting timing. You stop begging for their energy, and you start protecting yours. And ironically, when you do that, they start to feel your absence in a way they never did before. Not because you're playing games, but because for the first time, you're not chasing, you're choosing. Think of it like gravity. The Earth doesn't chase the moon. It simply holds its own position with quiet confidence, and the moon stays in orbit naturally. When you let go, you're not saying, I don't want you. You're saying, I refuse to hold you hostage to my fear. And that kind of energy, calm, centered, self-assured, that's irresistible. But yes, it's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel the urge to reach out, to break the silence, to prove you're fine. Don't. Sit with it. Let the discomfort be your teacher. Every time you resist the urge to chase, you strengthen your self-control. Every time you breathe through the anxiety of letting go, you train your nervous system to find safety in surrender. And that's where peace begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" You may not see it now, but the person who left was part of the pattern that leads you back to yourself. The rejection, the silence, the uncertainty, they're not punishments. They're redirections. Every no is just the universe whispering, not this one, not yet. So, if you truly want to attract again, not just people, but peace, opportunities, abundance, then stop chasing what left and start holding your energy like it's sacred. Let go with grace, not resentment. Walk away with peace, not pride. And don't underestimate the quiet strength that radiates from someone who isn't trying to prove anything anymore. Because when you let go, you create space. And life always fills space with something aligned with your new frequency. It might not be who you expected, but it'll be what you deserve. Say this with me and write it in the comments below. I attract by letting go. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your silence is not surrender, it's strength. And stay with me, my friends, because next we'll go even deeper into what happens after letting go. That beautiful moment when acceptance no longer feels like loss, but freedom. Number 7. Acceptance. The final liberation. Peace begins the moment you stop arguing with what is. My friends, this is the part most people never reach, not because it's hidden, but because it's hard. Acceptance. It sounds simple, almost too soft to hold power. But in truth, acceptance is the purest form of strength. It's the point where you stop begging life to change and start walking with what is. It's not surrender to defeat, it's surrender to reality, and reality, when accepted fully, becomes your peace. Imagine this. You're standing in a river, trying to fight the current. You dig your heels into the mud, you push against the flow, and it exhausts you. Every ounce of resistance burns you out. But the moment you stop fighting, the moment you lift your feet and let the current carry you, something amazing happens. You don't drown, you float. That's what acceptance feels like. It's realizing that peace doesn't come from controlling the flow. It comes from trusting it. But I know, my friends, accepting what hurts isn't easy, especially when you've loved deeply, when you've invested time, emotion, hope. You tell yourself, it shouldn't have ended this way. You replay every scene, every word, trying to rewrite it in your head. You look for meaning in their silence, trying to find closure where none exists. But closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you saying, it happened, it hurt, but it's done. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." That's the essence of acceptance, realizing that pain was never the punishment. It was the teacher. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every unanswered message, it was there to shape you, not to shame you. You needed that pain to meet your higher self, because sometimes the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what wakes you up. Acceptance is not about pretending you don't care anymore. It's about caring differently. It's not about saying, they meant nothing. It's about saying, they meant something, but I mean more. It's understanding that people don't leave to destroy you. They leave to redirect you, to force you to build the peace you once sought in their presence. Because real love, the kind that lasts, doesn't begin with them. It begins when you learn to stay soft in a hard moment. Think about it. Every time you refuse to accept reality, you keep the wound open. You keep picking at the scab, hoping it'll turn back into skin. But healing doesn't work that way. It requires trust. It requires letting time and truth do their quiet work. When you finally stop asking, why did this happen to me, and start saying, what is this trying to teach me? Everything changes, because that question pulls you out of victimhood and into victory. The truth is, acceptance doesn't make you lose anything. It gives you back everything, your peace, your energy, your focus. You stop living in what was and start living in what is. You stop chasing the old story and begin writing the new one. You stop trying to fix the past and start creating a future, because when you finally accept, you free yourself from the weight of wanting what doesn't want you back. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." That's the mindset of acceptance, gratitude for what remains, not resentment for what's gone. It's waking up and saying, "They're not here, but I am." It's seeing your own reflection in the mirror and realizing that the person who survived every goodbye is still standing, wiser, calmer, stronger. And here's the beauty of it. When you accept fully, your energy changes. You stop radiating desperation. You start radiating peace. And that peace draws everything good toward you. New love, new people, new experiences. Not because you chase them, but because your calm confidence became magnetic. You become untouchable, not because you're cold, but because you're whole. So, my friends, take a deep breath right now. Feel that air fill your lungs. That's life saying, "You're still here." Whatever left wasn't your ending. It was your beginning. The person you lost was the catalyst. The silence was the lesson. The acceptance is the liberation. Say this with me and write it in the comments below. I choose peace over pain. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that this is your rebirth moment, the one where you stop clinging and start living. And if this message touched you, do me one simple favor. Press that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Because this community, my friends, is not about chasing love. It's about becoming love. It's about walking with peace so powerful, even silence begins to respect you. Remember, you're not what left you, you're what remains after everything did. And that unshakable peace is your real power.